Hey viewers and viewers, my name is General Red Strategist and welcome back to Say Being Hunted, starting off another map with another podcast style episode and all that. Phil joined me last time, we had a right chinwag we did, favourites, redux and all that. If I remember correctly, that was the last one we did, wasn't it? Yeah, I think it was. No, but yes, irrespective of what it was, basically, I decided to come back and do another podcast style episode because, as usual, I have something on the mind I want to talk about. I just thought it'd be interesting to have a little chinwag about it, maybe for about 10 minutes or so. Doesn't need to be a long video, just a nice little bit of filler content and all that. Because, as of course when I record this, at the moment, one of my main series that's going on the channel is What Remains of Edith Finch. Though, having said that, by the time this video goes out, that series may well have ended, and I may well have moved on to The Forgotten City. It'll be one or the other, The Forgotten City or What Remains of Edith Finch. Whichever one it is. But obviously prior to What Remains of Edith Finch, obviously I finished Silvio 2. And, I mentioned, or if you watch basically my Silvio 2 videos, you'll be aware that for all kind of the moments where those, the two Silvio games were quite rough around the edges, I did enjoy those games on the whole, and I did think they had a very interesting concept behind them. And, I was thinking recently about how, do you remember when I used to do bits of discussion content here on the channel around the Danganronpa games? So, I'm a big fan, of course, of the Danganronpa games. I absolutely loved them, thought they were great. And after I'd done various playthroughs, I've done my playthroughs of the main games as well as various playthroughs of various Danganronpa fan games. Apart from those, I did also do bits of discussion-based videos about Danganronpa, like changes I'd make to certain characters or things I'd love to see in a future Danganronpa game, or my Danganronpa character tier list video. There's some good content in there. If you're interested in Danganronpa, go and watch my discussion-based videos. There's some really interesting stuff. And, for some time, it's been a while since I did a more sort of discussion-based gaming video rather than a let's play video. And that's the thing, let's plays are fun and enjoyable to do, and I do them because I personally enjoy doing them. I know I obviously don't have a huge audience here on YouTube, and so I do it as a hobby because I just enjoy playing games and then uploading videos of myself having fun playing them, or otherwise. But obviously, Let's Play as a kind of format on YouTube is obviously a very unoriginal way of doing things, gaming-wise, in this medium. And, there's a lot of very popular channels out there who, rather than doing Let's Plays, they like to do sort of gaming-themed discussion videos where they might discuss a topic about a video game, something that's topical and which everyone's talking about, or something interesting that's happened, or something like that. So, for example, you have channels like Game Theory, where they talk about games which have potentially very rich backstories, and they sort of piece them together, things like this. Or, there are, for example, other Danganronpa-based YouTubers out there who like to do their own discussion content about characters, like character analyses, things like that. And obviously the thing about discussion-based content around gaming is that, unlike Let's Plays, I think the editing of content like that would take longer by comparison, because obviously you have to scrape together plenty of footage, including potentially certain images and video files that are relevant to the things you're talking about at any given moment. Whereas obviously with Let's Plays, kind of like this, you don't really have to do that so much. It's just, you get the footage of yourself playing the game, and then you just put that in the video along with, your audio commentary, export that, blah blah blah, bish bash bosh, done. But it's been a while since I did any proper discussion-based content, and it is a format that I do think I want to go back to a little bit and try and do a bit more of every so often. So whether that's for Danganronpa, because I do have ideas for other Danganronpa discussion videos that I could actually do. So there was a video I did which actually did well views-wise. It got several hundred views, which is quite good for my channel. The video I did, which was something like 14 changes I would make to certain characters. And since then, I've had other ideas for other changes I would make to certain characters in Danganronpa if I was the writer. And so I've thought about maybe going back and doing sort of like a sequel to that video. However many more changes I would make to certain characters or something like that, I don't know. So that's an idea that I had. Like I say, you know, Danganronpa is just one of those things that lends itself so well to character discussion videos, in terms of, you know, you can do character analyses, things like that, because I've thought about doing character analysis videos, actually, because, you know, I've always thought about doing one, for example, for Sonya Nevermind, you know, one of my favourite characters from DR2, plus there would be other characters who I'd love to do sort of character deep dives into, things like that. The only thing that's always a bit of a pain about that sort of idea is just that obviously it would be a lot of work. I'd have to sort of write a script for it, for what I want to say, the things I want to cover, because I'd be a bit of a perfectionist, basically. I'd want to make sure that in that video I'm covering a load of interesting points, and for that I'd want to, like I say, write kind of like a script of sorts, maybe not like a rigid word by word overview of what I want to talk about, but maybe just like a prompt guide so I don't forget anything. And then obviously I'd need to find proper sort of relevant footage and imagery to then put into the video, and then of course that means the editing time would be a bit longer because I have to record myself reading, well, not reading the script, but essentially going through the script and just talking about each relevant point and then putting all that together with the imagery and the video files, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? But it's worth it, you know, because I always find that kind of content very rewarding. Similarly, it's a bit like some of the Girls on Panzer content I used to do over on Propagandist, because that was also very discussion-based content, and that's something I've not really done for a while over on there, because I've, you know, particularly several weeks ago I was very focused obviously on RWBY with catching up to Volume 9 and all that. But, you know, so apart from Danganronpa discussion content here on the channel, another set of games that actually I thought, you know, I could probably do a discussion-based video on those would be the Silvio games that I mentioned a moment ago. I don't know what it is about those, because the thing is, you know, they're only indie games, and as I've said during those Let's Plays, the Silvio games are quite rough around the edges in certain respects, and yet, if you watch my series on them, you'll know that there was something about those games that I just really liked. The concept of them was so interesting, and I get the feeling with those games, or rather I got the feeling with those games, that there was a lot of potentially background lore to them which I never came across during my Let's Plays, but which is probably sort of hidden in various locations within the games themselves. And recently I've actually reinstalled both of the Silvio games on my computer from Steam, and I've actually been sort of just blitzing through them, replaying them off camera in my own time, and actually recording snippets from them, because I'm planning to do a discussion-based video all about Silvio's backstory. I'm going to do a deep dive into Silvio's lore and everything that we saw, and that, well, not necessarily everything that we saw going on in those two games, but certainly I want to do sort of like a deep dive into lots of interesting stuff, especially stuff that I've been uncovering off camera now that I'm basically trying to replay them. Because basically I've been I'm currently working through Silvio 1 at the moment, basically finding all like the bonus stuff and all like the electronic voices that I didn't find in my actual YouTube playthrough, and trust me, there's some very interesting stuff that I've located. So I'm planning to basically get a load of that, maybe record some snippets from it, and just then put together a video highlighting some of the really interesting stuff, particularly the stuff to do with Silvio's backstory, its lore, things like that. Because I'd love to have a go at seeing if I can create a video which is a very comprehensive summary of essentially what Silvio's plot is and what's actually going on in those games. Man, the Silvio games are something which, you know, it would be awesome to see if the dev had like a full proper AAA budget behind them. What could they actually produce based on that concept? It would be great. So that's something that I definitely want to do, and I have, like I say, started already doing the prep for it. Now, I don't know what the ETA is going to be on that video. I have a feeling it'll take a while to do, because, like I say, I'll need to replay through both games in full, take snippets of footage from them, then basically review all that footage, piece together all the information I found in order to generate a picture, and then write a sort of script out so I can basically make sure I don't miss anything. So that'll probably take a while to do. It'll take a while to put together, but something potentially to look forward to here on the channel if you're into sort of deep dive, discussion-based content around gaming and things like that. So, yeah, I'm definitely up for that. I'm trying to think though, there'll probably be other games as well that I'd love to do sort of discussion-based content on. I'm thinking, for example, about like Captain Claw and Nikita, the Mystery of the Hidden Treasure. Was it called the Mystery of the Hidden Treasure? God, I can't see. That's how bland Nikita was as a game. You've probably seen my playthrough that I did of Nikita. For anyone who doesn't know, it's a 3D platformer that came out in 2008, which was originally supposed to be the sequel to Captain Claw, which was a 2D platformer from 1997, but ultimately turned into its own thing and got released many, many years overdue, and was basically just kind of bland and not shit. Shit's the wrong real word. Like, shit just implies it was objectively terrible. I wouldn't say Nikita was objectively terrible. I mean, it was a functional game. It was just a very rough around the edges and very sort of uninspired in certain respects. So yeah, that. But I'd love to do maybe like a discussion-based content video on sort of like Captain Claw and Nikita, for example. Sort of like the connection between them and why you should all play Captain Claw but not play Nikita. I don't know, something like that. And you know, I'm sure there'll be other games that I've played on my channel that I would love to do discussion-based content for, because it'd probably be real interesting to do so. I mean, the thing is, like, I have technically done, actually, you could say, some discussion-based content for games that I've played on the channel before. I did Generoid Reflects Wolfenstein, the Wolfenstein franchise, like years ago. If you've not seen that one, it's well worth going and watching that one. That basically, I mean, the central crux of that particular video is why is RTCW my favourite of the RTCW games. But, you know, it has a few interesting points to it. It also touches a bit on Wolfenstein 2009. Oh man, you know, I could do a specifically Wolfenstein 2009 video, couldn't I? God, Wolfenstein 2009, that's a fucking game that I've not played in years. I did do a Let's Play of it here on the channel. It's one of my earliest Let's Plays, actually, in fact. If you haven't seen it, it's well worth a watch. You see, I could do like a discussion-based video on what could the devs have done with Wolfenstein 2009 to make it more memorable. That could be such a fascinating one. I know it wouldn't exactly be topical, considering that game is now over 10 years old and it's kind of a forgotten game, but I don't know. I don't really do things to be topical here on the channel. I just do things because I enjoy doing them and all that, so that's an idea as well, isn't it? Holy crap, suddenly I'm getting all kinds of ideas just in my head. But yeah, you guys could surely let me know, couldn't you? In the comments, if you think there's anything that might be interesting to do discussion-based content on, particularly games that I've played here on the channel which you think could lend themselves to that kind of thing. You know, feel free to sort of recommend them to me. Because, you know, I'm always up to suggestions from my viewers and all that. Get a bit of viewer engagement on the channel and whatever else have you. People enjoy that kind of thing. Alright, I said this was only going to be about like a 10-minute video or so, and I'm probably going to sort of stick to that because I think we're about sort of 12 or 13 minutes now. So I think we're probably going to wrap it up there. Like I said, I had the topic of discussion-based content on my sort of brain, and I just felt I have to talk about it and share a few ideas. So yeah, it's a bit of filler content here on the channel, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed that, and you know, like I say, do leave your thoughts down below on any of the games that I've suggested, in terms of whether you'd like to see more discussion-based content on those, or whether indeed there are other games on my channel which you think would lend themselves quite well. So yeah, I'm sure it'd be fascinating, wouldn't it? Oh man, that reminds me though of another idea I once had, which I've never fucking done. Discussion-based content looking at like old sort of beta content from games I've played, like the Danganronpa games, the Rayman games. Yeah, sorry, I'm getting onto stuff I've talked about before, so before I really do that, let's wrap up here and start, you know, I don't want to start waffling on about stuff I've already talked about, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed, ladies and gentlemen. Facebook and Twitter links down below, along with the links to my propagandist channel for anyone interested. If you enjoyed, a like is of course always appreciated. More than that, this is John Red signing off. Goodbye everybody. Got it. That's on down at least. Oh god. Wow, we're going low in here, aren't we? Christ. That's a risky manoeuvre. Get them all. Oh, again. I'm coming, don't you worry. Oh, yes. Spray that thing. Gunfire, get it on the bridge. like it.
Don't stop now.
Switch to right turret. Okay, yes. Gotta concentrate. Oh, here we go. And do it, don't you worry.